Hello everyone, myself Afzal Ahmad and my team member Faisal Zafari, and we are from HKBK College of Engineering. Now we are going an internship project on washing machine simulator which is trained and guided by MHZ team. Before going to our project, let us understand some few concepts of our project. Let us see the microprocessor and difference between microprocessor and microcontroller. The microprocessor, it is a processor in which a memory and output input component is connected externally, whereas in microcontroller it is a controlling device in which memory and input components are present internally. The microprocessor have few registers, therefore the most of the operations are memory based, whereas the microcontroller has many more registers, therefore a program is easier to write. Due to an external components connected to perform a task in microprocessor, the power consumption is high, whereas in microcontroller the external components are inbuilt and the power consumption is less. So in microprocessor we need to connect the peripherals externally, which makes the circuit bulky, whereas in microcontroller the presence of peripherals like RAM, ROM, input, output and timers are inbuilt, so it is available on a single chip. In this project we are using a microcontroller called PIC16F877A microcontroller. Let us see what is an embedded system. Embedded system is a microprocessor or a microcontroller based system of hardware and software designed to perform a dedicated function with large mechanical or electrical system. It is nothing but a system which is used to perform a particular task. So let us see few examples of an embedded system. As you can see in an image, there is an industrial robots, GPS receiver, digital camera, DVD players. It is used to perform a particular task. If we take an example of a camera, it is used to only capture an image or video. And similarly, the DVD player is used to project any videos, images, that's it. And this washing machine is also an example of an embedded system. Let us see the categories of embedded system. The embedded system are categorized into standalone, real-time, network and mobile. Standalone embedded system are further divided into two types. They are slave embedded system and independent embedded system. In slave embedded system, this system only follows the instruction provided by the manufacturer. For example, semi-automated washing machine. And the independent embedded system, this type of embedded system follows the instructions provided and also the necessary action on its own whenever needed. For example, driverless car, which is a Tesla for example. Now let us talk about real-time embedded system. Real-time embedded system take necessary action within specified amount of time, also known as a time-based system. For example, airbag system in vehicles. Now let us see the network embedded system. Network embedded system which are connected to the one-to-one network. For example, router, home security system. And let us talk about mobile embedded system. This mobile embedded system which are portable and easy to carry. For example, car. So let us go to the next slide and see the components of embedded system. These components of embedded system consist of a software, memory, FPGA or ASCII, microcontroller or SOC or microprocessor, diagnostic port, digital to analog converter and analog to digital converter, and human interfaces, actuators, sensors, auxiliary system. So what is SOC? It is nothing but a system on a chip to control all multiple operations on the embedded system. We use SOC when or more microcontroller are used. Now let us see what is memory. Memory are of two types, random access memory and read-only memory. These random access memory are further divided into two types. There are SRAM, which is static RAM. This SRAM that retain the data bits in memory as long as the power is supplied. If there is a power on the SRAM, then only the memory gets stored in this RAM. And the other type of RAM is DRAM, which is a dynamic RAM. This dynamic RAM stores each bit of data into a separate capacitor in an integrated circuit. Going to the second part of a memory, read-only memory. This read-only memory is been divided into three types, which is PROM. It is nothing but a programmable ROM which can be programmed only once. For example, in toys. And the second part is EPROM, erasable programmable ROM. This ROM which can be erased and reprogrammed with the help of UV rays, ultraviolet rays, for example, which is used in research centers. The third part is mask ROM, ROM which cannot be accessed and programmed, which the user cannot access or can't do any program. For example, this is used in bootloader program. The next part is hybrid memory. In hybrid memory, there are two types. There are EPROM and flash memory. EPROM is nothing but electrically erasable programmable ROM. ROM which can be erased and reprogrammed with the help of electricity is called EPROM. In EPROM, the write cycle is very slow, therefore flash memories are performed. Now coming to the second part of hybrid memory, the second part is flash memory. Again, this flash memory is divided into two types, NOR flash and NAND flash. Now let us talk about this sensor. A sensor is a device that detects a change in the environment and responds to some output on the other system. A sensor converts a physical phenomenon into a measurable analog voltage converted into human readable display or transmitter for reading or further processing. Now let us talk about FPGA or ASCII. FPGA is nothing but field programmable gate array. It is a hardware circuit that a user can program to carry out one or more logical operation. And ASCII, application specific integrated circuit chip customized for particular user then intended for general purpose use. So next part is auxiliary system. The electrical auxiliary system is an acronym used to describe the collection of related automotive electric components that interact with the main car system and components to support this functionally. In our case, in the case of our project, this is an electrical system to power up our machine, for example, to access as a cooler or a heater. The next part is the main part is the software. In this software, embedded system software can be divided into a specialized program tools in embedded devices that facilitates the functioning of machine. The software manages various hardware devices and system. Actuators. An actuator is a device that uses form of power to convert a control signal into a mechanical form. Suppose let us see about digital to analog converter. Suppose the values are for in digital format like 1 or zeros. This by the help of DAC converter we can convert it to analog and give it to the microcontroller. Similarly, in analog case, if the input is analog, we can convert into digital and go through the other process. Human interface. Human interface is nothing but which a human can interface with this system and access which is readily understandable. Diagnostic port. Diagnostic port is nothing but to which we can diagnose the whole system which is accessible to each and every part of the microcontroller. So let us talk about interrupts. Few concepts of interrupts that is used in our project. An interrupt is a communication process set up in a microcontroller or microprocessor in which an internal or external device requires the MPU to stop the processing. MPU is microprocessor unit. The microprocessor acknowledges the request, attends to the request and goes back to the processing where it is interrupted. I will be further explaining what is an interrupt in next slide, in the coming slides. Yeah, the interrupts are classified into two types, which is hardware interrupt and software interrupt. Hardware interrupt is nothing but the user interrupts by pressing a key or anything else. The software interrupts is a programmed interrupt, and these hardware interrupts are classified into two types, non-maskable and maskable. These non-maskable interrupts are nothing but these interrupts cannot be modified or been corrected. This is an inbuilt interrupts, whereas maskable interrupts are can be programmed or can be stopped and again it can be continued to work. And these maskable are divided into external interrupt and internal interrupt. Interrupt handling. Interrupt handling is nothing but control which goes to the ISR, which is nothing but interrupt service routine. For example, if you can see this diagram, there is instructions to be executed. Suppose if the interrupts occur here on the ith place, so the processor goes to the interrupt handler and it finished a particular interrupt and again get back to the next interaction by incrementing one. So this is the process of interrupt handling. The interrupt handling is nothing but it control. They have the control to the same ISR. So what is ISR? Interrupt service routine. This is similar to a subroutine. ISR interrupt service routine attends to the request of interrupting source. For example, clears the flag. This ISR clears the flag. Then it should save a register contents that may be affected by the code in the ISR. It must be terminated with the instruction ret5. When an interrupts occur, the microprocessor unit completes the instruction being executed, disables global interrupt enable, places the address from the program counter on the stack, then return from the interrupt and execute the next instruction. So let us talk about our project. In this project, we are using the software tool which are MPLAB XID and PicSimLab and XC8 compiler. MPLAB XID is nothing but a program in which we are going to be program the code, and PicSimLab is a simulator, and whereas an XC8 is a compiler which compiles the code into its language. Let us talk about PicSimLab architecture. This PicSimLab architecture consists of a microcontroller which have LED, buzzer, digital keypad, SSD, 7-segment display, matrix keypad, CLCD, ADC, temperature sensor, EEPROM, I2C, and GPIO. As we will be using some of these components in our project. So as you can see, the PicSimLab board consists of a microcontroller PIC16F877A. As we can see, this is an crystal LCD characterized liquefied crystal display, and this is a cooler, and here we can see an heater, buzzer, and there are some serial ports and relay connected, and these are called as DIP switches. And here is the main component, which is the microcontroller, and here is a 7-segment display, and these are the keys which we'll be using in our project, and this is the LED and some of the matrix keypads. So this is a schematic diagram of PIC16F87AA board. Let us talk about PIC16F877 microcontroller. The PIC16F877 features 256 bytes of EEPROM data memory, self-programming, and LCD, 2 comparators, 8 channels of 8-bit analog to digital converter to capture or compare pulse width modulation function. The synchronous serial port can be configured as either 3-wire serial peripheral interface or the 2-wire inter-integrated. The PIC16F877 is a 40-pin microcontroller designed using RISC architecture, manufactured by the Microchip, and is used in embedded projects. It has 5 ports on it, starting from port A to port E. It has 3 timers in it, 2 of which are 8-bit timers, while 1 is of 16-bit. So this is the pin diagram of the microcontroller PIC16F877A. Light emitting diode. LED is a semiconductor device used in many embedded system applications used for indication purposes. It is used widely as an indicator during the test for checking the validity of a results at different stages. This also works as an diodes. which requires low energy consumption and much in longer life and smaller size and also faster. Switching make it usable in wide application fields like home lighting, remote control, surveillance, display and many more. As you can see, this diode always works in forward bias condition. Forward bias means which positive terminal is connected to the positive voltage and the negative is connected to the negative voltage. Digital keypad is mainly the tactical switches forming a keypad. As previously we saw in our board, here a tactical switch allows electricity to flow in electrical circuit by manually pressing the operating section. The switch activates when pressed and turns off when released. These tactical switches are interfaced in two formats. They are pull-up register format or and pull-down register format. In PIC SimLab, PIC Genius board, digital keys are interfaced in pull-up register. In that PIC 16F877A microcontroller board, this is the format of tactical switches in the form of pull-up registers. As you can see, the pull-up register and pull-down register format. The switch state and in the microcontroller. Suppose if the switch state is open, the microcontroller gets an VDD voltage. If the switch is closed in the pull-up register format, the microcontroller does not get any supply. And whereas in pull-down register format, when the switch is open, the microcontroller doesn't get any voltage. When the switch is closed in pull-down register format, the microcontroller gets the voltage from VDD. The next information regarding our project will be represented by my team member Faisal.
Hello everyone, thank you Afzal for giving a brief explanation about all the important components which is used in a project. And now let us see tactile switches bouncing effect. What is bouncing effect? First let us understand the schematics of the switch here. As you can see in the diagram, there is a metal plate between the switch and the terminals. So whenever the switch is pressed, as you can see on the diagram on the right, whenever the switch is pressed, there is some disturbance created in the metal plate, due to which there is some distortion in the signal, as you can see in the below diagram. Initially when the switch is pressed, there are some disturbance created in the signal. This is nothing but the bouncing effect, the contact bounce period. This bouncing effect is generated always. Similarly, after keeping the switch in a stable position for some time, as you can see in the below diagram, and when you try to release the switch, so the metal plate again tries to become stable, and before going to the stable stage, it again gives some distortion, due to which there is some distortion created in the signal again. This is nothing but again the bouncing effect during the release of the switch. So this is a brief explanation about the bouncing effect. Basically, bouncing effect lasts for 18 to 20 milliseconds. Okay, now let us move forward and understand what is CLCD. Now let us see the most important component of our project, which is nothing but the LCD, liquid crystal display. In our microcontroller PIC 16F877A, we are using a CLCD, which is nothing but character liquid crystal display. This CLCD in PIC 16F877A can be used to display all the ASCII characters and also many special characters. And this CLCD can have two modes of communication, that is 8-bit mode and 4-bit mode communication. If suppose you give any information which has to be displayed, before displaying the information, the data has to be processed. In order to do so, we need to make use of two methods, that is delay method or POL D7 or busy flag. We can either use delay method or pole D7 or busy flag. Before understanding these two methods, first let us see the pinout for 16 cross 2 LCD. In our microcontroller, the CLCD has 16 pins, that is from pin 1 to pin 16, as you can see in the diagram. And here pin 1 is used to connect to the ground, and pin 2 is used to connect to VCC supply, and pin 3 in CLCD here, which is represented as V0 in the diagram, is used to adjust the contrast or the brightness in the display. Pin 4, which is RS. Pin 4 is very important pin. Before looking at pin 4, let us see the data pins. So in CLCD of PIC16F877A microcontroller, the data is transmitted between the pin number 7 to pin 14. From pin 7 to pin 14 are nothing but data pins, which is represented from D0 to D7. Like we are using port D here. The entire port D is being used for data pins. So if the instruction what you are passing through these pins is data, then pin 4, that is RS, should be equal to 1. And in case if RS is equal to 0, then the information which you are passing through the data pins from D0 to D7 is nothing but the instruction. In simple words, whenever RS is equal to 1, the information in the data pins is the data itself, and whenever pin 4, that is RS, is equal to 0, the information passed in the data pins is nothing but the instructions. This is explanation of pin 4. And pin 5 is nothing but read or write pin. Let us understand pin 5 later. Now let us see pin 6. Pin 6 is nothing but enable pin, and as we know, pin 7 to pin 14 are nothing but the data pins, and again pin 15 and pin 16 are nothing but anode and cathode pins. Now coming back to delay method and pole D7 method. If we want the data to be processed before displaying, there should be some delay provided. In order to do so, we make use of these two methods. First, let us understand what is delay method. Delay method is nothing but adding a delay between lines of code. For example, if you are having 4 lines of code, you are adding a delay between all the 4 lines, using which after execution of each single line, there is some delay. In this time, the data is processed. So this is a simpler method of producing a delay so that the data can be processed. Another method here is pole D7 or busy flag. Pole D7 or busy flag method is a method of continuously reading or monitoring D7 line. We assume that whenever D7 falls down to 0, the data processing is done. Here D7 line is nothing but the pin 14 of CLCD, as you can see on the diagram, because the starting pin of the data line is 7, that is represented by D0 of port D, and the end pin is pin 14, that is D7 of port D. Therefore, we continuously try to read or monitor the D7 line, that is the last data pin, and if the D7 falls down to 0, then we assume that the data is completely processed. In order to read D7 line, we make use of pin 5. Whenever RW, that is read or write, is equal to 0, pin 5 is operating as write operation, and whenever pin 5, that is R/W, is equal to 1, it is acting as read operation. Now in our method, that is pole D7 method, we want to read D7, so we need to make R/W is equal to 1 in order to read the D7 line. But there is a disadvantage here, that is in PIC16F877A microcontroller, the pin 5 of CLCD is connected to ground physically. Therefore, it is not possible to make pin 5, that is r/w, is not possible to set it to a value of 1. Therefore, this pole D7 method cannot be used in PIC16F877A microcontroller. As we have seen, there pin explanation of the pins. VSS is a ground pin of LCD, VCC is the power supply of LCD, and we know that is pin 3 is used to control the contrast and the brightness of the LCD. And pin 4, the RS is connected to RE2, that is a pin from port E, and similarly the pin 6, which is enable pin, is connected to RE1, that is pin 1 of the port E, and pin 5, which was used to read or write operation, is connected to the ground physically. So this was some explanation about CLCD, which we will be using in our project. Now let us see the most important and the last component or feature required in our project, that is nothing but timers. First of all, let us understand what are timers. Timers are nothing but devices or components which are used to store the time in the timer register. Timer register is nothing but a component which is used to capture time in the microcontroller. The length of the timer register is the resolution of the timer. For example, in our PIC16F877A microcontroller, we know it is a 8-bit microcontroller, therefore we are having 8 bits in the timer. Therefore the resolution of the timer is nothing but 8 bits, which can also be said as register width. Now let us understand what is tick. As we know, we are using an 8-bit timer, so which can have values from 2 to the power 0 to 2 to the power 8, that is nothing but 0 to 255. Considering values 0 to 255, whenever the timer changes its state from 0 to 1, that is considered as a single tick. Again, when the timer changes the position from 1 to 2, that is again considered as a single tick. Similarly, whenever the timer changes its state from one position to another, that is 0 to 1 or 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 and so on, and the last up from 254 to 255, again it is considered as to be a tick. Therefore, since we are having a number from 0 to 255, the overall ticks which can be covered within this range is nothing but 255 ticks. Therefore, in 8-bit timer, the number of ticks are 255. Now let us see what is quantum. Quantum is a measure of time which is responsible for a tick. That is, whenever the timer changes its state from 0 to 1, it is considered as a tick. The time required to change the state from 0 to 1 is nothing but the quantum. Now we have seen a resolution, tick and quantum. In PIC16F877A microcontroller, the number of ticks are 255 as we know. Therefore, a time taken for a single tick in PIC16F877A microcontroller is 200 nanoseconds. And now we know that there are total of 255 ticks, so all the ticks will take a time of 51 microseconds. After 255, when a tick has to be occurred, it is not having any further value, so the timer goes back to 0. That is, the timer goes back to 0 from 255. Therefore, this condition of timer going from 255 to 0 again is known as overflow. This is known as overflow. Okay, now let us understand the next topic, that is scaling. Scaling is a method where we can delay the process of controller going into the ISR. Here we are having two types of scaling, that is pre-scaling and post-scaling. Post-scaling is dependent on an important factor known as instruction cycle. We know that whenever the timer changes its state, that is known as a single tick. And now if we want a single tick to be occurred only after four state changes, that is 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, we want one tick from 0 to 4. So what happens here is the instruction cycle here becomes 4. So in pre-scaling, the most important factor is nothing but instruction cycle, using which we can delay the time of the controller so that it can enter into the ISR. The next is post scaling. Similar to pre-scaling, post scaling is also dependent on an important factor which is known as overflow. As we know, the overflow is nothing but changing state from 255 back to 0 is known as overflow, and after this the control enters into the ISR. Using this we can delay the time for the controller to enter into the ISR. This is something about scaling. And now last, let us understand the modes. In PIC16F877A microcontroller, the timer modes are counter, that is the timer can be used as a counter, and the timer can be used to generate PWM, pulse width modulation, and pulse generator, and also it can be used for PW and PP measurement, that is nothing but pulse width and pulse period measurements. So now we have known all the important components which are required in our project, and we have understood all these components. Now let us go to the project, but before going to the project, let us see the features which are required in the project. So first of all, we need a start screen of the washing machine, seeing which we can operate it. After the start screen, we want the multiple washing programs, using which we can select the desired washing program, and make use of it. After washing programs, we also need to select the water levels, different water levels, and then we need to turn on the machine. Okay, once washing programs and water levels are set, the washing machine starts rotating. Since we are using a PIC16F877A microcontroller, here we are having a fan and a DC motor. We will make use of it instead of a real motor. And we also want a feature like start and stop between the washing machine. That is, for example, if we are removing clothes between the execution of the washing machine, we need to stop the machine, so we need a stop button. Also, after adding clothes again, we need to start the washing machine from the previous state itself, so we need a start and stop button there. Also, whenever as we know, for the safety purpose, whenever the washing machine's door is open, we need some indication. That is why we need a buzzer to indicate that the door is open and the execution of the washing machine should be stopped. And similarly, at the end of the completion of the program, we want the buzzer is completed, and at the end we need an end screen so that we can go back to the first screen and again select any desired option. So these are some required features for our project washing machine. So now we have come to an end of the presentation, and we thank you all for watching this. This presentation was carried out by Afzal Hamad. I thank you, Afzal, for explaining all the important factors and components in which are used in our project. And then it was carried out by me, Faisal Zafari. With now, let us see the execution of the washing machine. Welcome back, everyone. This is PIC16F877A microcontroller, using which we have built our project washing machine. So we have programmed using X8 compiler and MPLAB. So we need to select our program file. So we will go to file and then load X, and then we will select our file and press OK. Okay, now our file is loaded. Once the file is loaded, as you can see on the CLCD display, here we are using a 16x4 CLCD display. It is displaying us as a message, that is press key 5 to power on the washing machine. So here RB4 is key 5, so we'll press this, and as you can see, the washing machine is powering on, and it is displaying few washing programs. These washing programs can be selected or can be changed using this RB3 button. So let us select any of the option. we have daily, we have heavy, delicates, whites, stain wash, eco cottons, woolens, bedsheets, rinse plus dry. Then we also have dry only, we have wash only, then eco only, and again back to daily. So now let us see the daily option. In order to select the daily option, we need to long press the same key, that is RB3. So we'll be long pressing this. So I have been pressing the key for a longer period. Yeah, now as since we have long pressed the key, the option daily is selected, and now we can see the water levels. Here we have 4 water levels, that is auto, medium, high, max. Again back to auto. Now let us select auto in the similar fashion as we had selected the daily mode, like long pressing the same key. Okay, I'm doing it. Yeah, done. So now again it is asking me to start or stop, that is SW5 to start, and SW6 to stop. Here SW5 is nothing but switch RB4, and RB5 is nothing but SW6. Therefore we'll start the execution. If we press SW6, that is stop, it will again go back to the washing programs menu. So we will start instead of stop. Let's start. As you can see, we have selected the daily option, and the time for this particular option was 40 seconds, and the function currently going on is wash, and you can see the fan rotating on the side, and also the timer is there. And also we can pause this by pressing key 6. See, since I have pressed RB5, that is key 6, the entire execution, that is fan as well as the timer, is being stopped. And also when I press 5 again, that is RB4, it should start from the same. Yeah, it's done. And currently the function has changed from wash to stop, and now it's changed to spin. Again we have also used the door, right? So here RB0 is door. So when I open a door, as you can see we are getting a buzzer sound, and also in a displaying message, that is please close the door. And once the timer is done executing, we are getting a buzzer indicating us that the execution is done, and it's displaying us a message such as remove the clothes. Again we have come back to the washing programs. Similarly, we have multiple programs here. We can select any one of those. Each program is having different timings and different features. So this was our project, which was made by Afzal Ahmad M and Faisal Zafari. We both were from HKBK College of Engineering. Then I would like to thank upon the entire team of Emergy, including the staff members and the mentors who were there to support us during the entire course of 1.5 months, and who made us to do this project. Thank you all.